Good day, family. I'm Lord Caliph Shaquel, and welcome to another edition of Soulful Conversations. Today I want to talk about coming to grips with our own personal and cultural prejudices. Not racism, but prejudices. And sometimes we can confuse the two. I recently had to come to grips with mine. Today I was watching Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and if you've never seen the classic Sidney Poitier movie, you should watch it because you get to see people who truly are not racist coming to grips with a new changing social norm that affects them. And although they rail against racism their entire lives, they don't know how to deal with an individual from another race and culture walking into their family. Hence Sidney Poitier marrying this white daughter of a very prominent activist, liberal activist family. And I wanted to talk about this because I'm looking at my family and looking at the way my family has changed over the last 40 years. When I was a kid, I was born in 1965, 10 years after Emmett Till. Now, if you guys know the Emmett Till story, most of us do, my dad would have been 11 years old when Emmett Till was killed. So Emmett Till is my father's generation. And if you remember, Emmett Till's mother was very concerned about her daughter, her son Emmett, being in Mississippi because of the culture. Now remember, the culture in the South at the time, which is still in many places in the Deep South, know your place, boy. Don't look white people in the eye. Don't talk to white people. You stay on your side of the tracks, we stay on our side of the track. And I grew up understanding, and I was on the south side of Elkhart, the north side of Elkhart. We weren't supposed to go over there after 6 o'clock. Be on your side of town when the sun goes down. And many of my brothers who I grew up with in my generation know exactly what I'm talking about. So now we're talking about a black man marrying a white woman. Well, in our generation, I'm telling you, your father mentioned it to you, your mama mentioned it to you, your uncles went out of the way to say, boy, don't you bring home no white girl. Now, were they racist when they said this? Because I can imagine at the same time across town, white men saying to their daughter, don't you bring that nigga up in my house. Even if they did or did not use the N-word. I was told that specifically. My dad told me, my uncles told me, my mama told me, don't bring no white girl up in this house. Now, remember, my parents are Emmett Till's generation. They knew of the lynchings, they knew of the hangings, they knew of the black men being killed simply by having a white woman say he did it. There are many men who went to prison for 20 years for raping a white woman that didn't touch him. If you are a Malcolm X fan and you saw Spike Lee's movie, and there's a scene where Denzel as Malcolm X says to the white girl, kiss my foot. And then she does so now, even in our generation, that was scandalous. But when she does it, Denzel's pissed at her. He looks at her and says, yeah, when you going to scream rape? You'll do it if the time is right. So now we're dealing with our personal cultural prejudices. The information that I was given, we gave my nephews. We gave my little brother. They ain't adhering to it. One of the reasons why they don't fear the cultural backlash as we once felt it. They're not afraid of it. My nephews are not afraid of it. My brother is not afraid of it. Yet and still, and now they're in their 30s now. I have 3 daughters that I love, Brittany, Courtney, Cookie. Brandy, we call her Cookie. And they got the same charge from me, cultural prejudices. As a little girl, I told them, your skin tone is your armor. Brandy is the darkest of the 3. And I specifically drove into her, your skin tone is your beauty. It is your armor. It's what we all want. So she today and I'm proud to say that, is a proud black woman who loves her skin tone. And she should, because she's amazing. Now, she's also the daughter that brought home the white boy. And she didn't really want me to know about me. Well, me and her mother were not married, but her mother knew. She didn't really want me to know because she was afraid of the backlash of what I would say to her because she remembered all of my cultural issues with black men, white women, white men, black women. I was raised under that. Don't make it right. I'm just telling you what it is. So I don't want to hear people saying, well, you're just a man of your time. Bullshit. It wasn't right when I was taught it. It ain't right when I taught it. Coming to grips. Got to come to grips with your own personal issues. Now, one of the reasons why I felt like that is because even still, today's court system, political system, governmental system is run by older white men who still are trapped in the 1950s and 60s. So our children who are living in this new racial paradigm still have to go to court and have their grievances settled by men who don't give a shit. You sort of see it in the NFL. I know it's a little off, but it's the same thing. Black coaches can't get hired to be head coaches, can't be general managers, can't be vice presidents, because the old guard are billionaire white boys. This is my shit. This is my team. And ain't a bunch of Black Lives Matter following niggas gonna tell me who to hire. Flores, right, just filed a lawsuit saying they won't hire us. They won't give us a fair shake. And gave evidence to that. And in spite of that, 9 coaching positions have come open. The first 6 were filled by white men. So I'm asking us all, we have to look at ourselves and come together. We have to come to grips with our own personal grievances, our own personal prejudices. Mine, I told you, was my daughter's marrying a white guy. I got white business partners. I have white friends. And I was still scared to death of one of my daughters marrying a white guy. I didn't want that for them. But what has happened? My daughter has married a sensational young white man. Terrific. Treats her like the African Nubian queen that she's supposed to be. So how do I find flaw in that? That's what I've always wanted, right? And they've given me Nevaeh, my granddaughter, who loves me. I love her. I send her the same information I gave her mother, but I've removed that cultural element of racism, and I give her that pride. See, I want us to become people to teach about the pride of our people and not bring the prejudices that we were taught. You got to get better. Every generation has got to get better. So I see in my granddaughter, I see it in many of my nieces and nephews. My nephews and my brother, 7 children, all of them biracial. That's the new phrase, biracial. Back in the day when we were kids, you got one drop, you're a black man. And I'm cool with whatever term we want to use. But they have forced me to look inside the prison glass, because it's not prison glass I was given, based off of my fear of bringing home a white woman, dealing with the ramifications of my family's disgust with it, and being afraid of if I went out in public with her when we would run into a bunch of white boys that did not like that. So this country is at a crossroads. Back in January 6th, the fear that my daddy and my granddaddy and my uncles taught about was climbing the Capitol walls. How do we know this? How do we know this? Because had that been 300 black men climbing the Capitol walls, the same men that did it would have said, look at how them niggas are acting. They don't love this country. So I'm asking my friends, I've had this conversation with many of them Travis, who's a good business friend of mine and a personal friend of mine. Matt, these are white men in the military. I was in the military. So we've had these conversations. And I asked them, are these men traitors to the country? See, now they have to look inside of themselves, right? They have to say, am I bringing personal or cultural issues to this specific incident? Because to me, if you climb in the walls of the Capitol building when they're voting for the president, you are a traitor to this nation. But I'm looking at it from my personal perspective. And I don't think that there's a fair opposition. Because if I put 300 Chinamen, our Asian brothers, climbing the walls, then they'd be traitors. So I want to bring this back to who's coming to dinner. Because it's a great way to look at yourself and ask, am I bringing personal and cultural prejudices in my life that need not be there in 2022? I love my granddaughter. I love my daughters. I love my son. I love my family. And my family has changed dramatically over the last 40 years. And are we teaching our children cultural prejudices or cultural pride? I would hope that it's the latter. Thank you for listening to today's Soulful Conversation. I'm Lord Caliph Shaquel, and I hope you tune back in soon. Thank you.